Hello, good morning. My name is Karl. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, we are going through the stages of learning if we are a dissociative identity disorder system. We do not know what that means. That was formerly understood as multiple personality disorder, now understood as dissociative identity disorder. A system means that the collective personalities, parts of consciousness, identity states within one body. I am a part of this system. Little things about myself is I'm in my 40s. I believe I'm 40 years old, maybe 41. I guess I'll keep it at that. No need to have my personal information out there. The video I wanted to talk about today is having DID without having what is broadly understood as amnesia within a DID system, that is, amnesia between parts. We do not experience that. The others in the system have described it as sharing one memory bank. So instead of having a fragmented memory bank where each alter holds their own memories, we collectively share the same memories. And as a collective, we have amnesia or dissociate, have gaps in our recall, gaps in our life events that we as a system cannot remember. The way our amnesia works in our system is throughout our whole lives up until today, we cannot remember large portions of our days. At the end of each day, we have a mild ability to recall what happened during that day. No strong details, but the vague idea we're able to remember. But once a day turns into a few or a week, we no longer have broad a sense of what we did. So the reason I wanted to make this video, because a coworker had asked me when was the last time I worked. And when I say I don't necessarily mean myself, Karl, I mean this body and what they think is River. And at the time it was River who answered this question. I had not switched out at this point. And he could not recall the last time he worked. Even now I'm having a hard time remembering. Today is Saturday. I think we worked Thursday, but I'm not confident in that, and that was merely 2 days ago. So, how amnesia works in our system is we, like I said, have large gaps in our memories, almost in the sense where most of our life is blacked out. And I think that's abnormal for what people understood about a DID system, that is amnesia between parts. And what we've seen online is each alter seems to hold their own memories and is able to recall memories, their own unique past experiences so far back into even childhood. We do not have that. And it's not necessarily just the bad things, even the good things we no longer remember. And that makes, I think River struggles with it the most, because he feels like he's writing a story without knowing the past page. He doesn't know how to continue on without his memories, in the sense that he doesn't know what he's building towards. He doesn't understand who he is. He doesn't understand his likes, his interests. And I think a part of that was because we were a system. He was unable to distinguish what was himself and what was the others before we had all known collectively that we were a system. So, sorry, there's a bus going by. Now, I'm trying to think if that's an invalidating experience for myself and my system. I'm going to speak on behalf of my system. I think the others, primarily River, Montreal, the ones that we know about so far, who are the most insecure, have a hard time with this, because it's so widely understood that DID is amnesia between parts, or there's OSDD1B where there's no amnesia, and we do not fit that criteria either. Now, this is why it's important to get professional guidance through this process, and we have a psychiatrist that we're seeing, but until we come to a formal diagnosis, we're not quite sure where we land. But from our moderate understanding of psychology and our strength of insightfulness, we are able to decipher that we have DID. So, I don't find it invalidating. I think we have a pattern in our lives of not fitting the mold of very big aspects of that make up who we are as a system. Like, I suppose not every alter within a system is going to have the same diagnosis. For instance, River has BPD, and I don't believe I have BPD. But when you describe behaviors of the coping mechanisms of ourselves, it's easier to understand it as a body, because I have not been in a situation where I've been triggered and have needed to turn to maladaptive coping skills, but there's multiple alters within the system who do. So I no longer remember what I was talking about. There was going to be a second part of this video, and that is going to be a reflection on switching and what switching feels like for us. So, we were going through our old videos this morning, and we had realized about 5 months ago we were more in tune to when each other was present with one another, such as when one alter was fronting, who is co-conscious with them, who is co-fronting with them, and who was, as the ring systems puts it, observing. Now, is this due to River's denial, the body not being ready to be aware that we are a system, or simply coming out of the crisis period that we were in? That skill has dampened, and it's not as forefront. That is, knowing who's around and knowing when we switch and being able to more readily switch between parts. I don't understand why, besides those reasons I just listed. But I think it's going to be a goal of ours to increase communication. I know River had talked about how he's realizing when we speak to each other in our head, it is not necessarily River's internal monologue, but rather us as a collective speaking to each other and speaking to him, or whoever's fronting at the current moment. And I have a mosquito bite. I'm itchy. But what does it feel like to switch? It almost... I'm not sure if this example was used in another video, but do you ever get the feeling that someone is staring at you and you look up and someone is? It's almost like that. It's like this instinctual understanding that there's a presence with you. That's with communication and with awareness. But once you get to the point that you are able to tell you're going to switch, that is the best way I think I just can describe it. So once you get to that sense, the way we have to do is we almost have to ground ourselves, because if our anxiety increases, and typically the anxiety increases because it is River's close to the front and he's anxious about. Oh, I shouldn't be able to switch on command. He views it as command. He almost kind of fake claims himself through this. But once you get to that point where you can sense a presence with you, we have to ground ourselves, and we almost have to take a mental step back and allow them to take over. And sometimes that's feeling a little blendy. Like, for instance, when I was switching with River this morning, he could feel my mannerisms taking over, but he still felt somewhat in control, or mostly in control, I should say. And I had to speak to him and tell him that, you know, allow me to do this. You wanted me to front to make this video. So once you ground yourself, take that mental step back. It's almost like a wave washing over you, or us. And this is an intentional switch, I should say. Sometimes we have unintentional switches where we forget who we are. Not forget, but we kind of lose insight to who we are at the present moment, because there's more than one person conscious at the time. And before you know it, sometimes consciously or unconsciously, there's a switch. So what I'm speaking to and previously is an intentional switch. So you feel that presence of someone in the room with you, or someone staring at you. You ground yourself, you prepare yourself for the switch, take that mental step back, and then allow that wave to wash over while you're grounding yourself and reassuring yourself. And when I say yourself, I'm speaking to myself or the system. And if this relates to you, I guess I'm speaking to whoever's watching as well. You have to allow yourself to be okay with the fact that you're going to switch. And there's many factors that can play into this. If you're in a safe location, if this is a proper time to switch, who you're switching with. But if all things check out, those are kind of the process we take. And we find that to be a bit easier for us to switch. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's at 12 minutes. We try not to make videos over 15 minutes. I'm not quite sure where I've been. There's periods where the others have thought I went dormant, such as Montreal. He hasn't been around either quite frequently. But I'm gonna try to make more videos once I have a topic I think is worthy of one. So that is all I will say. Good day.